In the dim glow of a single candle, Isabella stood trembling in her white gown, the barrel of a gun pressed cold against her temple. "Say I do, or watch your family burn," Alessandro whispered, his voice like velvet wrapped around a blade. Her heart hammered as tears blurred her vision. This wasn't a wedding, it was a death sentence. But as the priest's words hung in the air, a deafening gunshot echoed through the chapel. Blood splattered across the altar. Whose blood? And would she survive the night? Isabella's world had shattered just hours before. She was no stranger to danger growing up in the shadows of New York's underworld, where her father ran a small-time smuggling operation. She'd learned to navigate the treacherous alliances of rival families. But nothing prepared her for Alessandro Rossi, the infamous leader of the Rossi Syndicate. He was a storm personified, tall, broad-shouldered, with piercing blue eyes that could freeze you in place or set your soul on fire. Rumors swirled about him, how he'd risen to power by eliminating anyone who crossed him, including his own brother. Toxic, they called him. A man who loved like he killed, possessively, without mercy. It started with a debt. Isabella's father, Marco, had borrowed money from the Rossis to keep his business afloat during a brutal turf war. When he couldn't pay back, Alessandro didn't send collectors. He sent a proposal: marry Isabella to seal an alliance or face annihilation. It's business, Alessandro had said coldly during their first meeting, his gaze raking over her like she was property. Isabella, at 24, had dreams of escaping this life, maybe going to college, becoming an artist, painting the freedom she craved. But freedom was a luxury for girls like her. The forced marriage was announced in a lavish ceremony meant to mask the coercion. Guests from both families mingled uneasily, champagne flutes clinking like warning bells. Isabella's mother wept silently in the front row, while her younger brother, Luca, shot daggers at Alessandro from across the aisle. As vows were exchanged under duress, Isabella's mind raced. How could she love a monster? Or worse, survive one? Their wedding night was a nightmare wrapped in silk sheets. Alessandro carried her over the threshold of his sprawling mansion, a fortress overlooking the city skyline. "You're mine now," he growled, pinning her against the wall. His touch was rough, demanding, igniting a fire she hated herself for feeling. But beneath the brutality, she glimpsed something fractured, a scar running down his chest from a childhood betrayal. A haunted look when he thought she wasn't watching. Was this toxicity his armor or his curse? Days turned into weeks of turbulent coexistence. Alessandro's world was one of midnight meetings, whispered threats, and sudden violence. He forbade Isabella from leaving the estate without guards, claiming it was for her safety. "The Morettis are still out there," he'd say, referring to a rival, family gunning for his throne. But Isabella saw it for what it was: control. She rebelled in small ways, sneaking calls to Luca, sketching portraits of a life she might never have. One evening, during a heated argument, she slapped him. "I hate you," she screamed. He grabbed her wrist, pulling her close. "Good. Hate keeps you alive in my world." But as he stormed out, she noticed his hands shaking. Vulnerability, or just another manipulation? The first real crack in their facade came during a gala hosted by Alessandro's allies. Dressed in a crimson gown that hugged her curves, Isabella felt like bait on a hook. Whispers followed her. The Rossi bride, poor thing, trapped with that beast. Alessandro's possessiveness boiled over when a charming businessman, Victor, approached her for a dance. "She's taken," Alessandro snarled, yanking her away. Back home, jealousy exploded into rage. He accused her of flirting, smashing a vase against the wall. "You think you can escape me?" he roared. Isabella, tears streaming, shot back, "You're poisoning us both." In the heat of the moment, he raised his hand but stopped. For the first time, regret flickered in his eyes. I don't know how to do this," he admitted, collapsing into a chair. That night, they really talked. He confessed his past: orphaned young, raised in the Mafia's grip, love twisted into a weapon. Isabella shared her fears, her lost dreams. A fragile truce formed, but was it enough? Yet danger lurked outside their walls. The Morettis, led by the ruthless Dante, plotted revenge for a territory Alessandro had seized years ago. Spies infiltrated the Rossi ranks, and one fateful night, Isabella overheard a phone call. "The shipment arrives tomorrow. Take out Rossi and his new wife." Her blood ran cold. Should she warn Alessandro, risking deeper entanglement in his dark world? or let fate decide, hoping for her freedom. As she debated, a shadow moved in the hallway, a knife glinted in the moonlight. The assassin lunged, but Isabella screamed, alerting the guards. In the chaos, Alessandro burst in, gun blazing. The intruder fell, but not before grazing Alessandro's arm. "Why did you save me?" he asked later, bandaging his wound. "Because maybe you're not the monster I thought," she whispered. Their first real kiss followed, raw and desperate, a spark amid the ashes. But toxicity dies hard. Alessandro's jealousy resurfaced when Luca visited, begging Isabella to run away with him. "He's killing your spirit, sis," Luca pleaded. Alessandro overheard, exploding in fury. He locked Luca in the basement, accusing him of betrayal. "No one takes what's mine," Isabella confronted him, pounding on his chest. "This isn't love, it's a prison." In a moment of blind rage, Alessandro shoved her away, harder than intended. She hit the floor, a bruise blooming on her arm. Horror washed over him. "God, what have I done?" He released Luca immediately, but the damage was done. Isabella packed a bag, ready to flee. "I can't fix you," she said through sobs. As she reached the door, Alessandro fell to his knees. "Please, don't go. I'll change. For you." Cliffhanger. But as she hesitated, tires screeched outside. Gunfire erupted. The Morettis had come for them all. Would they survive the assault? The siege turned the mansion into a battlefield. Bullets shattered windows. Guards fell like dominoes. Alessandro shoved Isabella into a safe room, barking orders into his radio. "Hold the line!" Outside, Dante's voice boomed over a megaphone. "Surrender, Rossi, or we'll burn it down with your pretty wife inside." Isabella's heart pounded. This was the life she'd feared, the endless cycle of violence. But peeking through a crack, she saw Alessandro fighting like a demon, protecting not just his empire, but her. In a daring move, she grabbed a hidden pistol from the wall safe, one Alessandro had shown her for emergencies. Sneaking out, she flanked the attackers, firing a warning shot that scattered them. "Get out!" she yelled, her voice steady despite the terror. Alessandro turned, shock in his eyes. Together, they repelled the assault, Dante retreating into the night. As sirens wailed in the distance, Alessandro pulled her close. "You fought for us," he murmured. "I fought for me," she replied. "And maybe for what we could be." Recovery brought introspection. Alessandro sought therapy in secret to Mafia boss, admitting weakness was unheard of. But for Isabella, he tried. He delegated more to trusted lieutenants, carving out time for them to rebuild. They traveled to Italy, visiting his family's old vineyard, where he shared stories of a boy who dreamed of peace before the Mafia claimed him. Isabella painted again, her canvases filled with stormy seas giving way to sunrises. Challenges persisted. Trust issues flared, old habits died slow. Once, during a business deal gone sour, Alessandro reverted to threats, scaring Isabella. "This is who I am," he said bitterly. But she stood firm. "No, it's who you were. Choose better." Their arguments were fierce, but resolutions came through communication, not control. Slowly, toxicity faded, replaced by mutual respect. The turning point arrived with a betrayal from within. Alessandro's right-hand man, Gino, sold them out to the Morettis for a bigger cut. Discovered in time, Gino faced judgment. In the past, Alessandro would have executed him without hesitation. But now, influenced by Isabella's pleas for mercy, he exiled Gino instead. "You've changed me," Alessandro admitted that night, holding her. "For the better." Isabella smiled through tears. "We changed each other." Months later, peace settled uneasily over their world. Alessandro negotiated truces with rivals, shifting the syndicate toward legitimate businesses, real estate, imports free of crime. Isabella opened an art gallery, her work inspiring others trapped in shadows to seek light. Their love, once toxic, bloomed into something real, supportive, passionate, forgiving, but not without scars. One evening, as they watched the sunset from their balcony, Isabella placed his hand on her belly. "We're having a child," she said softly. Joy lit his face, but fear followed. "What if I fail them?" he whispered. "You won't," she assured, "because you've already won the hardest battle against yourself." Yet shadows lingered. Dante, humiliated, vowed revenge. Whispers reached them, an alliance forming against the Rossis. One night, as they prepared for bed, the phone rang. "It's time," a voice said. Alessandro's face hardened. "They're coming." Isabella grabbed his arm. "We face it together." As alarms blared, intruders breached the gates. Cliffhanger, a bomb exploded nearby, shaking the foundations. Would their fragile happiness survive the final storm? The climax unfolded in a whirlwind of chaos. Reinforcements from unlikely allies' families Alessandro had spared in his reformed ways rushed to their aid. Isabella, fierce and protective, coordinated from a secure line, her pregnancy fueling her resolve. Alessandro confronted Dante in the courtyard, guns drawn. "This ends now," Alessandro declared. Dante sneered, "You'll always be the monster." But Alessandro lowered his weapon. "No, I'm done." In that moment of vulnerability, Dante hesitated long enough for authorities, tipped off by Isabella, to swarm in. Arrests followed, dismantling the Morettis once and for all. In the aftermath, Alessandro faced charges for past crimes but cooperated, turning state's evidence. Prison loomed, but reduced sentences offered hope. Isabella visited daily, their child growing as a symbol of renewal. "You taught me love isn't possession," he said through the glass. "It's freedom." Released after 2 years, he returned a changed man, dedicating his life to anti-crime initiatives, speaking to at-risk youth about breaking cycles. Their story became legend, a toxic bond forged in fire, redeemed through courage and compassion. Isabella's art flourished, her pieces telling tales of resilience. Together, they raised their daughter, Elena, in a world of choices, not chains. The inspiring message? Even in the darkest hearts, love can spark change if you're brave enough to fight for it, and forgive enough to let it heal. If you enjoyed this emotional roller coaster of a mafia romance, hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating stories that dive deep into the heart. Thanks for watching.